if I want to establish any network connection, I must have the architecture or blueprint or plan or framework. Peer-to-peer network is a network in which all the computers are linked to each other. A server performs all the major operations such as security as well as network management. Hello friends, a warm welcome to my new session on Introduction to Computer Network. I'm your Revati ma'am, faculty from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, first grade college, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, before going to start my today's session, let me to recall the topic what I have discussed in my previous session. So dear student, in my previous session, I started with definition. That is nothing but the what is computer. So what is computer here? That's nothing but the group of devices are connected each other through some communication media in order to share the resources and communicate each other. Then I have discussed applications. That's nothing but the usages of computer network. Along with that, I have discussed computer network structure. So these are the three topics I have discussed in my last session. But in my today's session, I'm going to deal with computer network architecture. Along with that, I'm going to deal with computer network types. So dear student, let's see what is computer network architecture. So dear student, just think that I want to construct the house. Before going to start construction, I required blueprint. In the sense what? I required plan. Here also, if I want to establish any network connection, I must have the architecture or blueprint or plan or framework. So here, computer network architecture is defined as the physical and logical design. In the sense, what is physical? What are the components required to make a connection? And if I consider logical design, what are the software I required while making connection? So, computer network architecture is defined as the physical and logical design of hardware, software as well as protocols and the media of the transmission of data. So here, what is protocol? Protocol is nothing but the set of rules or set of procedure used to communication between two devices. In the sense, protocol is nothing but the set of agreement that must be agreed between two parties. And media of transmission of data, it is nothing but the physical or logical path between the devices. If I consider physical, then it is wired. If I consider physical, if I consider logical, then it is wireless. So dear student, see here, if I consider computer network architecture, that is further classified into peer-to-peer and client-server architecture. So it is peer-to-peer and client-server architecture. Let's see what is peer-to-peer network. So here, peer-to-peer network is a network in which all the computers are linked to each other. For example, think that I have three systems. And all the systems are linked to each other. So this kind of architecture is known as peer-to-peer computer architecture, and each device must have the same responsibility and same privilege. Peer-to-peer network is useful when I want to connect only 10 or 5 system, in the sense when I have very limited number of computer system and I want to establish network connection between those system, in that time I can able to have peer-to-peer net connection. And what's the maximum capacity I can have here? Only up to 10 computers. In the sense I can able to use peer-to-peer network only for small environments. Then peer-to-peer network has no dedicated server. See the diagram here. See, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 systems, and each must have same access right as well as same responsibility. And I cannot consider any system as dedicated server. So here I don't have any dedicated server. Then what is the disadvantage? If I don't have any dedicated server, then I cannot able to take the backup. So what is the disadvantage of peer-to-peer network? I cannot able to take the backup. So a special permission is assigned to each of the computer for sharing the resource. See here, I have 6 computers and each must have special permission in order to share the data as well as in order to communicate each other. So in order to sharing the resource, in the sense what? I can able to share software resources as well as hardware resources. Then what is the advantages of peer-to-peer network? That is, see here, it is less costly as it does not have any dedicated server. So dear student, in my peer-to-peer computer network, I'm going to use common computer system. So I don't have any dedicated server. Suppose if I have server, then I must pay the money, because to configure the system as server, I must have a high configured system. Now, to purchase high configured computer system, I must pay the money. So, it is less costly as it does not contain any dedicated server. And if any one computer stops working, then it does not affect other computer which is connected in the network. It is easy to set up. In the sense, it is very easy to establish peer-to-peer connection, and maintenance as each computer is very easy. In the sense, each computer is responsible for managing itself, and each computer must take care about their security. So these are the advantages of peer-to-peer network. And what is the disadvantage here? See here, if I consider peer-to-peer network, I don't have any centralized system. If I don't have any centralized system, then I'm not able to take the data backup. So here, it does not contain any centralized system. So what is centralized system here? That's nothing but the server. When I don't have any server, then I'm not able to take data backup. And it has security issue, because each device or each computer or each node is responsible for their security. So it has a security issue, in the sense here we don't have any centralized security, and each system or each node want to take care of their own security. So for that reason, it is going to have the security issue. Now I'm going to have the client server network. So what is client server network here? See here, I have client and server. In the sense what? I have two entity. One is client and one is server. And I can have one server and I can have n number of client. So what is the job of the server here? Is to process the request which is sent by the client or sender. And what is the job of the client is to make a request. So here in client server network is a network model designed for end users called client. So who is client here? That is nothing but the end user or nothing but the user to access the resource. For example, think that I want to search some information. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to use Google search engine. So here client is who? Client is nothing but the me. And who is the server? That is nothing but the www. So that's nothing but the World Wide Web. It is a centralized repository and all the informations as well as resources are stored in the central repository, and clients are responsible for making the request. And the job of the www, that's nothing but the central repository, is to process the request and send the response. That's nothing but the output to the client. So there are certain times client may request songs, videos, audio files or any other information from a central computer is known as server. So who is server here? That's nothing but the central repository or central device. So dear student, if I consider client server network, I have client as well as server. And clients are nothing but the end user. And I can have n number of end user. What about server? It's a central repository or central node, and that is known as server. So here a server performs all the major operations such as security as well as network management, and server is responsible for managing all the resources like files, directories as well as printer. And all the clients are communicate each other only through the server. See here, this is the example for client server architecture. I have client 1, client 2 and client 3. And see here, I have only one server or I have only one central node. And if client 3 want to communicate with client 1, then client 3 is going to communicate only through the server. This is the best example for client server architecture. Now dear student, I am going to have the advantages of client server network. So dear student, see here, a client server network contains the centralized system. So we are going to have one central system or node, and that is known as server. And it is very easy to take the backup. Why it is very easy to take the backup? Because all the data, all the resources are stored in the central device. And client server network as a dedicated server that improves the overall performance of the whole system. So we have only one dedicated server and it is responsible for improving the performance of the network. And the client server network provides better security than peer-to-peer network. So here we have a centralized system administrator, or we have centralized server administrator, and the job of the administrator is to take care about the resources as well as services. So it provides better security and it also increases the speed of the sharing resources. So we have only one dedicated server and this server is responsible for processing all the data as well as resources. So it increases the speed of the sharing resource. Then what is the disadvantage? See here, we have only one centralized dedicated system. If the particular system get failed, then it is very difficult to manage. So dear student, client server network is expensive. So here it is expensive because if I want to configure any system as server, then I must have high configured system with large memory space. For that reason, it is expensive. And a server has a network operating system. So dear student, if I consider normal system, I'm going to use operating system either Windows or Linux or Unix. And if I want to configure the system as server, then I must have network operating system. And cost of the network operating system is very high. It requires a dedicated network administrator to manage all the resources. So, here all the resources are managed by the network administrator. So, we must have highly specialized network administrator to manage all the resources as well as network security. So these are the disadvantages of client server architecture. Now I'm going to have computer network types. So dear student, till now we were discussing what is computer network, applications, structure of computer network as well as architecture. But this is the another very important topic, that is computer network types. Here computer networks are categorized based on the size. Here a computer networks can be categorized three types based on the size. So here I have LAN, that is local area network. Along with that I am going to have MAN, that is metropolitan area network. Along with that I am going to have wide area network. So these are the three types of network. Now if I consider local area network, think that I want to connect a system within the classroom or within the laboratory or within the office or within the building or within the campus, that falls under local area network. In the sense what? It is possible to cover only small area or only small distance. Local area network is nothing but the group of computers are connected each other through the wired connection. So local area network is a group of computers connected each other in a small area, that is within the office or within the building or within the classroom, within the laboratory. LAN is used for connecting two or more personal computer. See, if I have computer 1 and computer 2 and if I want to connect these two systems each other, then I'm going to use LAN. And what kind of media I'm going to use here? That is twisted pair cable, coaxial cable or fiber optics cable. It is less costly. It is inexpensive because I does not require any hardware. With the minimum hardware like hub, I can able to make a local area network. So it is less costly as it is built with inexpensive hardware such as hubs, network adapters and Ethernet cables. Now see here, I have the local area network and see I have computer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and I have 7 workstations and these workstations are connected through the server, and this is within the building or within the campus or within the office or within the classroom or within the laboratory. So here the data is transferred at extreme faster rate, in the sense by using local area network, I can able to transfer the data at the higher rate. And local area networks provides higher security. Then what is the advantage and why I required local area network? Because it's mainly used for the purpose of resource sharing. Resource sharing. So what kind of resource I can able to share by using local area network, that is software as well as hardware. For example, think that I have two computer and only one printer, and both the system want to make use of printer. So what I want to do? First, I want to make a LAN connection between two devices, and I want to install this printer in any one of the computer system, and I want to share the printer so that other system which is connected to this network can able to access the resource. So what is the advantage of LAN? That is nothing but the resource sharing. Now I'm going to have another type of network, that is metropolitan area network. Suppose if I want to cover large geographical area, think that I have two cities and two cities want to communicate each other. In that time, I'm going to use metropolitan area network. A metropolitan area network is a network that covers a large geographical area by interconnecting a different LAN to form a large network. So, dear student, think that I have two cities. In two cities, I have bank. And now both the bank want to communicate each other. And how they are going to communicate? For that, we are going to have the metropolitan area network. So, dear student, see, this bank is connected through the LAN and this bank is connected through the LAN. Now, I have two banks and both the bank want to communicate each other. For that, we are going to have the metropolitan area network. Suppose if I want to connect two LANs together, then I'm going to have metropolitan area network. And most of the government agencies, they are going to use MAN to connect the citizens and private industries. Now, dear student, see this example. Okay, I have LAN 1, LAN 2, LAN 3 and LAN 4. Now, these four LANs want to communicate each other. And how they are going to communicate? Only through the MAN, that is metropolitan area network. And all these LANs are present at the different cities. Okay, now four cities want to connect and communicate. For that, I'm going to have the metropolitan area network. So, in MAN, we can able to connect various LANs. How I'm going to connect various LANs? That is through the telephone exchange lines. Now, I have four cities. I have four cities and four cities are going to make use of LAN, that is local area network, and they want to communicate each other. And how they are going to communicate? Is it physical or logical path between these cities? So for that, I'm going to have the telephone exchange line. By using telephone exchange line, I can able to communicate each other. And it has a higher range than local area network. By using local area network, I can able to cover very small distance. By using metropolitan area network, I can able to cover larger distance. Now, I'm going to have my third type. So, what is the third type? That is wide area network. So, dear student, a wide area network is a network that expand or extends over a large geographical area. So, there are certain time I want to communicate with country or continent. In the sense what? It's going to cover large geographical area across the country and continent. And that time I'm going to use wide area network. It's going to cover large geographical area. So a wide area network is quite bigger than man. So dear student, see here, when I'm going to use wide area network, when I want to communicate across the country or continent, that time I'm going to use wide area network. Now, see here, this is the example for wide area network. Here, I have the LAN as well as I'm going to have the MAN. Okay, so how I'm going to make MAN by using many LANs. Now see, I have LAN as well as MAN. Now these want to communicate each other, and how they are going to communicate? By using wide area network, and it's going to cover large geographical area, in the sense across the country or continent. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I started with computer architecture and type of network. There are three type of network: LAN, WAN, and MAN. So, dear student, most frequently we are going to use wide area network. So, what is wide area network? A wide area network is not limited to single location. It is not limited to one city or two cities. It's going to span over large geographical area. So it is going to cover large geographical area, in the sense country or continent, through the telephone line. And we can have fiber optic cable or satellite link. Suppose if two continent or two country want to communicate each other, and how we are going to make a connection? Only through the telephone lines or fiber optic cables as well as satellite link. So the biggest wide area network is nothing but the internet. All the internet connection comes under wide area network. And even I can able to consider mobile networks, that is 4G mobile network falls under wide area network, and it is most widely, most commonly, most frequently used networks in the field of business, government as well as education sector. So this wide area network is capable to cover large geographical area, and how the connections are made? Through the telephone line, fiber optics cable or satellite. So dear student, this is the very important topic from the examination point of view, and you can expect the different type of computer network. Which are the three type of computer network? LAN, WAN and MAN. LAN within the campus, within the building. Then MAN, it's going to cover two cities. And WAN is nothing but it's going to cover large geographical area. The best example, internet connection and 4G mobile network. Anyway, dear student, in my next session, I'm going to deal with topologies and the different types of topology. Anyway, Students, let's meet in the next session with the new concept, that is topology and its type. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.